The past decade has been really good to Orlando. We've seen massive growth in a lot of different areas. Horizon West went from cow pastures to crazy amounts of growth. Lake Nona went from cow pastures to lots of different growth. But there's 5 areas of town that I think have the most amount of potential to see the most amount of growth over the next decade. So today we're going to dive into those and go exactly what, why, and how I see this happening over the next 10 years. When I think about when we moved here 9 years ago, I remember driving through Horizon West and I was like, I don't get the vision. There wasn't a lot of houses yet. There was no retail, but for the most part, I just didn't see it. And so we moved somewhere else to begin with. And I think a lot of people, they look at some of these areas that I'm about to mention today, and it looks like just open land, or they just don't understand because in their mind, they've always thought of this area a certain way, if that makes sense. And so the first place I want to talk about today is St. Cloud. Now, St. Cloud and Kissimmee, they both have so much raw land to begin with, but the reason why I believe that St. Cloud is going to see the most amount of growth out of maybe any other area of Central Florida is because there's so many new developments already approved. And I'm not talking about 200, 300, 500 kind of houses. I'm talking about Cross Prairie has 5,000 houses plus to begin with access to the lakes, and they've got the new town center. You've got the Sunbridge portion of St. Cloud, and I know that's different kind of area, more closer to Orlando and Lake Nona, but still St. Cloud, where they have 27,000 acres that they've been going to be developed, and they've got so many other things going on. And so everything in between those two, up and down the turnpike, I think that St. Cloud just has so much potential, and there's already developers that believe in it that are investing billions of dollars over the next decade. And so yes, I know it's harder to get to, and maybe there's not enough retail and there's a lot of things going on, but still feels very reminiscent of some of the other areas of Orlando that we've seen grow so much over the past 10 years. There was a study over the past week that talked about how Orlando is the stickiest city in the entire state, meaning that the most amount of people that live here, if they decide to move, they move within Orlando, which I thought was really interesting, more so than any other city in the state anyways. And so if that's you, if you're thinking about buying or selling a house somewhere in Central Florida, my team and I want to be your real estate resource of choice. Make sure you reach out at theorlandoreal.com/YouTube. The second spot that I'm betting on over the next decade to have massive growth and appeal is Claremont. And you would have laughed at me 5 years ago if I would have said that, but many of you guys have started to see that it's a great place to call home. And over the next decade, they've got multiple massive projects coming along. You've got Wellness Way that's already under construction, the Olympus project, which we interviewed the developer not too long ago about that. We've got big projects for infrastructure coming, the 516 and all of these other roads that will be done over the next 3 to 5 years. That's going to open up Lake County like we've never seen before. But the reason I love it more than any of those reasons is because you have so much natural beauty over that way. You've got Lake Louisa State Park and so many other places that are going to be protected that in other areas that maybe won't be. And so you're going to have that really cool juxtaposition of those rolling hills and nature mixed in with a lot of the new development, and then access to the rest of Orlando. That is the prime way that I believe that area will boom. The third area that I see doing really well over the next decade is a smaller pocket, and that's Mount Dora. So still in Lake County, and the reason why I believe in that area so well is that downtown area is really, really cute. But then beyond that, you've got the Wolf Branch Innovation District, which is an 850-acre development that is going to be more jobs and more retail and a lot of other things spread out with all of the other cool new developments that are happening in the area. And you look at the pricing statistics over the past 6 or 7 years, pricing went from $200,000 on average in Mount Dora to still an affordable $425,000 as of today. And so with most people looking for affordability, things to do, and lifestyle, I think Mount Dora is really uniquely positioned, and it's still fairly easy to get to from most other things. And so I think that as people are willing to spread out farther, I know in Central Florida, that's just something you have to do. That is one area that I continue to believe in for the long haul. Last week, we did a video on the data of the market, and I took about 1,000 points of data from the MLS, and I uploaded it to both Grok and ChatGPT. And I said, where is it based on the lowest days on market, meaning like the fastest turnover, people are buying up houses, but one of the lowest price points for the most amount of house, and mix that with amenities, meaning that the neighborhood either had a pool or the houses had a pool. And the number one place that came out of all of that was Davenport, Florida. Now, it's a little bit harder to get to, and if you talk to locals, you're like, oh, Davenport, it's not that far away, but it is forever away because of traffic. And the reason why I'm so bullish on it over the next decade is because you've got the new I-4 project that's beginning right now that will be done over the next 5 to 6 years. You've got the Point Siena extension. You've got so many new roads coming in that's going to open up Davenport. And I think the affordability factor, where you already have so many people that work at the parks that live there, it's going to be something that really catches on. Now, they need to stop catering to short-term rentals in a lot of those areas and start focusing more in on long-term development to where people can live there, stay there, reinvest into the cities and Polk County schools and that sort of thing. But if you look at all the tea leaves on what's there, and I think it has the makings of something really special over the next decade. It's not quite as far along in the process, in my opinion, as like a Claremont and a St. Cloud, but it does have all of the makings to where I'm going to be paying attention and probably investing down in that area. All right, so the fifth area that I'm talking about, I'm leaving it to last because we've talked about it a lot on our channel, and it almost feels fully baked, and that's the Horizon West area. Now, there's still thousands more houses to come, lots more retail, lots more schools, lots more things to come to the area that have already been planned, that will over the next decade finally get completed. But it feels like because it's not in the infancy stage like many other areas, that's why I'm leaving it to number 5. I could have also thrown in Lake Nona. I could have thrown in the Moss Park Innovation Area Way, where they've got Research Park over there and they're signing huge leases for people that are over on the Space Coast. That definitely will boom in terms of jobs, but in terms of just rooftops and new growth, I think that the areas we covered so far are probably the number 5 that will see the most amount of growth. So here's 5 reasons why I think Central Florida is going to crush it over the next 10 years. Number 1 is the migration data would tell us so. MoveBuddha.com had this migration pattern article that dug really deep into patterns on where people are moving from and why. But when you look at the net migration for Central Florida, it's already doing extremely well. And it's not just from other states, it's from within the state. People are coming from Miami and Jacksonville and Fort Lauderdale and Tampa and inward from the coasts for so many different reasons. And so when you look at, not only are we a more likable option for people that already live in Florida and internationally and in the domestic United States, it's easy to see why Orlando, I think, will continue to thrive over the next decade. The number 2 thing is affordability. Yes, we are more expensive than we've ever been in Central Florida, and I feel for the people that have lived here their whole lives, and now all of a sudden everything is 2-3 times as expensive as it was without the income catching up. Yet we're still 42% cheaper than living in Miami. We're still significantly cheaper than a lot of other places in the country. And so now what we need to do as a community is figure out, how do we get jobs for our people, get training for our people, and making sure that we're building the right types of housing, between affordable housing and different socioeconomic ladders, to where not everybody has to buy a $500,000 house. And so being able to figure out, like, that downtown area where we have more ADUs, and the way that the Orange Code is going to work to hopefully work on more density, which would bring down housing costs. There's a lot of that smart stuff that we need to figure out so that we continue to be an affordable option for so many people. Number 3 is economic diversification. So the tech scene here, and the tourism scene, and hospitality scene, and the aerospace scene, and the national defense scene. There's like so many things that are happening here in Orlando. I was talking to somebody the other day where they were talking about their bidding on the Golden Dome that President Trump's trying to create, and that's here in Orlando. There's so many things going on beyond tourism, and the tourism and hospitality industry is investing billions of dollars back into our area. So when you have all of that going on at once, it gives job opportunities. It creates so many cool things that I think will be a benefit for us over the next decade. The number 4 thing is infrastructure. This is both our positive and our negative. We've got the Bright Line, we've got the I-4 extension, we've got the Osceola Parkway extension, the Point Siena extension, the new toll roads. There's just so many different things going on that I think that living here will then feel better over time, even though there's more people living here, that hopefully we'll be able to get around a little bit easier. But we need schools, roads, utilities. There's just so many other things that need to be reinvested back in the city, and that's probably one of the biggest growing pains that people feel when they live here. The last reason I think that we are going to continue to crush it over the next decade is because of our quality of life here in Central Florida. Now, there's a reason why you moved here and or maybe you stay here, and it seems like everybody is a little bit different, but many of us over intersect one way or the other. Maybe it's hurricanes aren't as bad in Orlando as they are on the coasts. Maybe it's you love theme parks. Maybe it's you love everything else going on from a cultural perspective, from a food perspective, from a things to do perspective, I just think the quality of life in Central Florida is fantastic. Wallet Hub put out an article a couple months ago that talked about Orlando was one of the best places to raise a family in the entire state. There's just a lot of cool things happening here, and I think that we're still under the radar compared to some of the other cities that get a lot of love, and that's something that I love to expose, and I'm excited about to see where we end up over the next 10 years. But let me know down below, what's still something that you need to see here to raise the quality of life for you? All right, so that's the show today. I'm curious, which of these areas do you feel that has the most amount of potential? Like, if you were going to move to one of these areas, which one would you choose? Let us know down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so before you leave, and we'll see you guys on the next video.